are US antitrust regulators about to block the $70 billion Xbox Activision Blizzard deal? As EU regulators look even more closely at the deal, is it about to fall over at the last hurdle? We asked the question. I want to know your opinion. All this and all the Xbox news and updates and everything you've come to expect. Have a think about it as I hit the credits. Yes, yokoso. Arigato gozaimasu. Welcome to the Xbox Monday Night Chat. We chat the big issues of the day, all about Xbox. I hope you're good. I hope you are well. That's the big question. I put a question in the poll. I'd appreciate your response. Do you have any thoughts on it? There are rumors that the US anti-regulation authorities are about to block the biggest gaming deal in history. EU is taking a very close look at this whole thing as well, and they could equally block it in Europe. Is this the end of the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal? And, hey, does Xbox have a plan B? These are the thoughts I want to hear your response on. These are the questions. Hey, ER Gaming there. With the membership. Thank you very much, sir. I hope you're all good. I hope you are all well. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Remember to hit the likes. You know why. I like it. Yeah, YouTube likes it. And it helps people like you find great content like this. There we go. There comes the late alert. Anyway, also let me know what games you've been playing. Doesn't have to be Xbox, but I will be talking about the Xbox games because now I play a variety of platforms. You know, I was quite singular in my platform choice, as many of us were. Some weren't, but I guilty as charged. But now I play a broader field, put it that way, and I did a little thing, yeah. Just before I came on the show, I did a thing, yeah. I bought something, you know, bit of an extravagance, but I went all in. Let's just say that I went all in on Xbox. Don't tell my son, yeah. It's a secret, it's mine. And we were just discussing earlier in the evening how amazing. He said, "Why do you get Xbox? Why do you want an Xbox One X? You know, I know it plays 120 frames per second, but your screen's only 4K." I said to him, "The LG, son, the LG, it's built for next gen. Yeah, 120 frames per second, 4K, it works." And he went, "Oh yeah, wow, your TV's out of this world." So I thought, "Oh God, it's coming up to Christmas. Why not? Let's do it." So I'm in. I'm skint now, but I'm in. Anyway, but yes, let me know what games you've been playing and all of that. Put it in the chat because I do like to see what games you have been playing and all of that. Before we get into all of that, let's go to the early bird chat. Some interesting. Let's have a look at the poll. 13 votes. 85% think it's going through. I like the confidence. I like the confidence there. Sednar saying hello to everybody. Hello, Sednar. How are you? ER Gaming there. Good evening, sir. David Wilson. Everybody's evening. Evening. Everybody's so polite. Evening. Hello. Lovely to see you. Ray's in the house. And, of course, ER Gaming. Arigato gozaimasu with the membership. I need to move that, don't I? You won't be able to see. Where's the chat highlight box? Highlight chat. There we go. You can see that better there. Let's drag that. There we go. Housekeeping. Ian here says, surely if it's just Sony bitching, why would they block it? Well, that's the, you know, we'll come to that actually. We'll talk about Sony playing the victim here. poor Sony, poor little Sony, come on. But as is the nature of these things, the regulators will farm out opinion. And, even if you're a competitor, you're going to go, no, you're going to find any reason to block it, because you don't want your competitor to get an advantage in any way. Even if it might not, it's going to impact you anyway, a competitor. But yeah, so obviously they're going to find every kind of excuse why they think it's a bad deal. And they're going to lobby hard. Yeah. And I think, and I may be doing a disservice to the regulators, but I'm not sure they really understand gaming. So I think if you're canny, as I would say in Scotland, if you're canny, you can play them a bit. Yeah. Due to their lack of knowledge. This is what I think Sony's doing. I can't believe it's that simple. Surely they will get in consultants and experts, which is why they ask around, But the fact that they're wondering whether it's a threat to cloud gaming and things like Google Stadia and stuff like that, and you think, well, Google Stadia is closing, so it's hardly that's hardly a threat, is it? Do you know what I mean? So it's little things like that you hear come out from the regulators. You think, you really know what you're talking about. You're the right person to judge this. Anyway, we'll be talking all about that. Liam, how are you? Good to see you. Another week on Football Manager 23. Chester, top of the league. Ooh, and grounded for me. Playing Elden Ring and loving it, says Sednar. That's good to hear. On the old Xbox, since that's what we're talking about, I've been playing Gungrave, or Lord Kensal has been playing Gungrave Gore. Absolutely loving it. I spent an hour doing one small short level. It was so annoying. Anybody who watched it would have seen the pain I went through on this ridiculous level on top of a train. It was so frustrating. But we did it. Yeah, Lord Kensal did it. He got there. But I'm enjoying it a lot, more than I thought I would. I mean, it looks kind of cool, Gungrave, but it's got a real old school style to it. And I know it's been around and it's got that kind of almost PlayStation 2 feel to it. I mean, it doesn't look like PlayStation 2, but just that kind of old school arcade style. But it looks great. The music's phenomenal. It's just bonkers. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. Jonathan Rowley here saying no Battlefield 2042 on cloud. I know. So you know what I did? I downloaded it. I know. I said I wasn't going to download any games. And in fact, I've downloaded 2 games. One on my PC, which I said I would never download games onto my PC. But this is my son wanted to play Sea of Thieves. And for some reason, trying to play Sea of Thieves on cloud, fine, never a problem. But when my son invites me to his game, it won't let me play via the cloud with him. There's something that sort of gets in the way. There's a bug in it. So I downloaded it on the PC version. I promised I wouldn't do that. But I was curious about Battlefield. Yeah. I was curious. So I downloaded it. Now, bear in mind that whenever I stream, I'm on my big TV, I'm streaming through an Xbox S. So not a next gen. I'm streaming through old gen Xbox. So of course I am getting the benefit of an Xbox Series X, because that's what the blades are. So I'm streaming Xbox Series X quality games when I stream via my old gen Xbox. But I downloaded Battlefield 2042. So now I'm playing literally playing natively on an old gen system. And oh my gosh, there were moments when it looked like Battlefield 2042 looked really potatoey natively on old gen. I mean, there was a bit where my character died, and sometimes you see all the polygons almost. It looks like your character looks like a series of sort of oblong triangles. It looked really bad. And I'd forgotten, even on playing Stadia and stuff like that, it played better than old gen most of the time. And so streaming, you know, on GeForce 3080 looks amazing. Streaming, you know, on xCloud, you're using Xbox Series X blades. It looks great. And I'd forgotten old gen. It just doesn't, it just was, some games are terrible on old gen, especially the big games, I think. They just don't work. You know, they're the ones that have been built for next gen, and then they sort of try and squeeze it in, you know, like the Cyberpunks, I guess, like Battlefield, try and squeeze it in onto the old gen and not really perhaps do an amazing job because their main focus is on the next gen. It looks terrible. So I was disappointed. I played it, but I was disappointed with it. Battlefield 2042. And it's interesting because we'll come to it, but Sony quote the failure of Battlefield 2042 as an example of how it is difficult for competitors to create a game on a level and popularity as Call of Duty. And they quote specifically, they throw EA under the bus. They say, even if EA can do it, can't do it with Battlefield 2042. You think, whew, harsh. That's harsh. Gusky, or Gusky, Gusky, good evening from Canada. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Chariot. Yay, what's going on, Clive? Got to come through. That deal is definitely going through. That's what messed up Stadia. Yeah. Well, what messed up Stadia in regards to that is the sheer, or put the collywobbles under the Google senior management, was the sheer scale of it. Yeah. The sheer $70 billion in, you know, that's really parking your tanks on the lawn. And I think it's the sheer scale of it, which is what has got the antitrust regulators like really looking at it, thinking $70 billion, like this is going to be a major advantage for them. And then they just need the Sonys of this world to sort of, the regulators, this is just need the Sonys of this world to poke at them a bit to say, oh yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, have a look at it. Have a closer look. Battlefield tried to get away from what made them good, bad company to, yeah, Battlefield 3 and 4 were the best. They went over the top with 24-2, but it's still a good game. Yeah, just, I'm sure it's a good game. It just looks terrible on old gen. That's what I'm saying. David's saying here, 2042 is a new update which has messed with some of the graphics, especially on the new map that came up with the update. But beyond those faults, I'm loving it. Mate, I'll give it a go on my Xbox Series X. I've just put in the basket. I've just paid for it. Well, I haven't actually. I put it on the never. Need YouTube to start paying off so I can pay for it. That's what needs to happen. Hey, what's up, David Wilson, says Jarrett. Good to have the chat. Anyway, before we get into the meat and potatoes, of this, let's have a quick roundup of the GNUs. Have I played other games? Oh yeah, been playing a bit more Vampire Slayer because it's just so easy to get into. But let's have a look at the just quick roundup of this week's Xbox news before we get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation tonight. As I said, let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, I am. Oh, I don't know. I spent some stuff on Google, some Google Smart stuff earlier in the day. I think I've been a bit flash today. I was trying to save some money. Anyway, let me worry about it. Worry about it later. Yeah, worry about it later. Right. Next week on Xbox, new games. So the big game for next week is the Callisto project, isn't it? I'm just whizzing by. Yes, the Callisto Protocol project. Callisto Protocol, December the 2nd. What's that? Friday. Optimized for Xbox Series X and S. Next gen take on survival horror from the mind of Glenn Schofield, Dead Space, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, blending atmosphere, tension and brutality with terrifying moments of helplessness and humanity. The Callisto Protocol immerses players in a pulse-pounding story where unspeakable horror lurks around every corner. So that's the big game of the week, coming later this week. Not very much on Games Pass this week, but other games coming to Xbox generally. Old school here, Speed Gunner Ultra mixes 2 different genres, platforming and shoot 'em up for your old school there, allowing you to switch between them as an armed cyborg with the ability to fire rocks, or reactive jet with the ability to dash and accelerate. Very old school. Now, this was the game I mentioned last week, Soccer Story, that they announced as coming to Stadia just before Stadia, of course, was closed down. And it's coming to Games Pass. So it's not coming to Stadia, but it is coming to Games Pass. A physics-driven adventure RPG where every problem can be solved for your trusty magic ball. I find that personally. And on PC, coming to Games Pass on PC, Games Pass on PC only, so not console or cloud. It is very much a PC title, Warhammer 40,000 Darktide PC. That's coming on November 30th on all platforms, of course. Megalon 11. Don't remember Megalon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Unlucky rescuers have only 11 days. Oh, that'll be why. Unlucky rescuers only have 11 days to get off a planet that's been abandoned by everyone. Their scientific expedition ship catches an SOS signal, but because of an unsuccessful landing, the rescue operation turns out to be a complete failure. Now you must find shelter and adapt to the harsh conditions. Wonder what this game actually... Let's have a look at... Just have a look at the style of the game. So it's got a kind of... He looks like he's sunbathing there. Sort of top-down style there. Not sure it's my kind of cup of tea graphically. Let's have a little play of it. So it's got a sort of puzzle element, strategy kind of survival type element to it. But there you go. Switch that off there. Megalan 11, ladies and gentlemen. Warp Drive, a fast-paced racing game with a brand new way to drive. Teleport. Go behind the wheel of a powerful quad rotor to test your... Are we on the right place? Yes, we are. Sorry. To test your creativity. There's nothing really stand out this week for me, other than obviously the big one, which is the the Sword and Vagrant. Again, a 2D action RPG combat with some strange lady with big boobies and a ripped 8-pack, 9-pack, 10, 12-pack going on there. But this is the game, really. Oh, Midnight Suns as well. Optimized for Xbox Series S. And Need for Speed Unbound, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, look, we've had gifted memberships. Wow, thank you. Arigato gozaimasu, ER Gaming. Much appreciated. And that's been, opportunity's been snapped up by Suarez, Internet of Games, Struggle Boxing, Tiburon, and Gadgets Kev. Wow, thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Yeah, so it's Callisto Protocol is the big game. $70, AAA price, isn't it? It's for Xbox X and S, Day 1 edition. So we're paying for that next gen here. Definitely. They want my, you know, my date of birth there. So we can see, so we can take a look at it. Oh, it's an American as well. It's all back to front. Let's just, let's check it out. Not that old, Jesus. Nice. So I feel like sometimes after a night out, well, it did, not anymore. Don't have a night out. Nights out. But yeah, it's got a real AAA. Wow, that's. A real AAA kind of look and feel to it. I look forward to. I'm going to hold my judgment. I look forward to a few people streaming this to get a kind of sense of what it's going to be like. Hey, Internet of Games is appreciated. Yeah, indeed. Thank you, ER Games. It's really, really appreciated. Unbound, Gusky says, yes, Need for Speed. I like the Need for Speed games. I've always have liked the Need for Speed games. Let's have a look. If I just close this up. Need for Speed Unbound. Oh, they want my date of birth as well again. But I like an arcade racer. Get EA Play and say £7. Brilliant. Or another $70. Whoo. Serious question. Do you think Microsoft are less committed with roadmap and timescales on cloud than their console? Yeah, I think at the moment, all concentration, in fairness, is getting this Activision Blizzard deal over the line, and just slowly iterating. There's no real competitor. I mean, other really GeForce Now. There's no real competitor for them for cloud gaming to really push it. So I think they'll continue to iterate, but maybe not at the speed. I mean, especially, you know, what's happening in the tech world, and what's happening, you know, with Google and possibly with Luna. The appetite for cloud gaming on the scale that Google and Luna and even xCloud thought would be there now is perhaps, you know, sadly, as proven by Stadia, not quite there. But that's not to say it won't be there, just maybe not in the place where they thought it would be. And, you know, Xbox have missed their subscriber targets as well. Maybe they were too ambitious. So maybe they'll just slow things down a bit on that. That's what I'm thinking. Geek the Sneak became a member. Arigato gozaimasu. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Right. Let's have a quick Need for Speed Unbound. Let's have a quick look at Need for Speed Unbound. Yeah, I won't put, because they're bound to be music. Here we go. Just to give a sense. Watch the trailer. Speed race. Oh, you want to see it? Yeah, I remember Need for Speed now. It's coming straight back to me. Yeah, the other one was Paradise City. What was it? Burnout. Oh, I like it. I like its graphical style. But did you ever remember see the film Need for Speed with the guy from Breaking Bad in it? Oh yeah. Oh, I see. They've gone for that sort of cell shaded graphic novel style look on the characters and a little bit on the cars. So almost like Miles Morales Spider-Man, the movie style. Some of the animation looks to it. Which I love. I love that arcadey style. Yeah. I'm not sure I want to pay $70 for it. But I do like Need for Speed games. I remember when they first came out. That's how old I am. I remember when they first came out. What we're talking, 17, 18 years ago. Really? Yes. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. And I like they've gone for that. I like the slightly, as I say, cel shaded graphic comic style design aesthetic they've gone for as well. And I'm sure it will yeah, like that smoke there. I love that sort of almost like a hand drawn smoke as he turns. Or she. Yeah. No, it's that's and the scribbles. Yeah, it's got the Into the Spider-Verse hint to it, hasn't it? With that kind of hand-drawn bit graphics over the top, just to give it a kind of stylistic aesthetic, as I said. Yeah. I'm liking the look of that. Let's just shut that down. Let me know what you think. I do like a good racer like that, a good arcade kind of racer. Wow, really grateful for the memberships, ladies. Really appreciate it. The Crew 2 does this only with a bigger map and more vehicles. Still invested in Crew 2 after 4 years. Yeah, I got a bit bored with Crew 2. I found some of it a bit difficult, and I hate the flying. Anybody who watches my shows will know I hate flying. Not literally, in games. Valhalla leaves PlayStation Plus very soon. Complete edition under £45 on the PS Store if you're interested. So it's floating up again for grabs for whoever's next. There you go. Right. That is basically the games coming. Obviously, we've got Midnight Suns as well. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's first of all kick off with some optimism, ladies and gentlemen. So, we talked about how there's been lots of AAA titles, especially Xbox next-gen titles and stuff, you know, not arriving this year. It's been a bit light on all platforms, really, but I would say definitely Xbox next-gen. It's been a bit light, and a lot of titles that have pushed into 2023. And so this argument that somehow 2023 could end up being the biggest year in Xbox Game Pass history. And we've got the likes of, you know, it says here, as we fast approach the end of the year, 2022 hasn't delivered quite as many AAA experiences as we would have liked. This is referring, well, generally across the board, I would say, with many of them delayed out of the year for various reasons. Now, Phil Spencer did say that they've got beyond all the things that are delayed and sort of now on target. So everything should be on target, you know, as best it can be in game development terms. So obviously you've got Starfield, Redfall, and Forza Motorsport. None of these are impacted by the Activision Blizzard deal. So we can just park the Activision Blizzard deal for a moment. We've still got some major titles, Starfield being obviously probably one of the most anticipated, Redfall and Forza Motorsport. These, of course, exclusives from Xbox Game Studio. Then another couple of highly anticipated Xbox Game Pass launches delayed to 2023, Stalker 2 and Atomic Heart. And we looked at Atomic Heart and I've seen some more stuff on it, and it's looking really good. We talked about it before on this show. Then we've got some of the games that are announced for Xbox back in the summer. Lies of P, looking very nice as well. Hollow Knight, Silksong, Minecraft Legends, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Lies of P, I'd probably put up there. And then you've got Age of Empires 2 and 4, which we know are coming in the beginning of the year. Valheim on console, Persona 3 and 4, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, Warhammer 40k Dark Tide. Well, we know is that coming on console or just PC? And GoldenEye 007 sort of remake. And then we've got Hellblade 2 and Avowed. So they've got quite a good selection. I'm going to sneeze one sec. No, I'm not. So they've got a good lineup to be optimistic about. It still would be nice to have some big titles, and I'm sure there's some other bigger titles coming, but it's that Activision Blizzard deal, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to really, skyrocket what they can deliver, straight into Games Pass and stuff like that. So that is the big thing. So arguably it would be a pretty good year, an okay year with some of these titles here. But the Activision Blizzard changes everything. And that's what is sort of, that's what, the industry and Sony are kind of worried about. And one of the big arguments, and I touched on it earlier, one of the big arguments that Sony is using. So the UK, this is within the UK, in documents released as part of the UK's Competition and Markets Authority review in the potential merger, Sony argue that the Call of Duty is not replicable, right? You can't just make a Call of Duty just like that. Now, I don't know what that says about Sony. Are Sony saying themselves, having bought Bungie, who, make one of the best shooters out there, definitely, Destiny 2, created one of the best shooting games, FPS shooting games out there. And there's loads of other people that Sony have relationships with or first-party studio. You telling me that Sony couldn't create a Call of Duty? Is it really not replicable? Now, Sony, for the purposes of this argument, are saying it's not. And even a company on the scale of EA, who with Battlefield tried to, deliver a big competitive shooter. It says here, Sony's dunked on EA's Battlefield series in the arguments, saying it then calls out Battlefield series as a major rival, but says the franchise cannot keep up. Even someone like EA, on the scale of that publisher, cannot create or keep up with the mega truck that is Call of Duty. Call of Duty is too entrenched. This is Sony's argument. Call of Duty is too entrenched by any rival, no matter how well equipped to catch up, reads Sony's statement. They're saying that Call of Duty is not only such a large epic game, it's so far sort of ahead of the game in terms of its popularity and branding and all of this, that you can't just create one. It's been the top selling game for almost every year in the last decade, and in the first person shooter genre it's overwhelmingly the top selling game. Other publishers do not have the resources or expertise to match its success. To give a concrete, and this is a quote, to give a concrete example, EA, one of the largest third-party developers after Activision, has tried for many years to produce a rival to Call of Duty with its Battlefield series. Despite the similarities between Call of Duty and Battlefield, the Battlefield franchise cannot keep up. Ooh, bit harsh on EA, but true. It's not on the scale of Call of Duty. Call of Duty just has its simplicity to it in terms of its, it's a battle royale, you know where you are. To counter Sony, Microsoft has had to downplay the importance of Call of Duty franchise in its own statement and promote the dominance of Sony across the industry. This is the irony. Sony is the biggest, has the biggest share in the gaming industry, really. And here they're playing the victim. Basically what they're saying is we don't want to be number two. That's not really an argument in terms of the competition market. We're number one in the market. We don't want to be forced, by aggressive acquisitions to be forced to be number two. The people that should be concerned are those small, trying to get into the gaming industry. They're the ones. It's like the old argument about Google, everybody using Google search. And it's the smaller search engines are the ones that feel like they can't get in on the market. But it will be Microsoft Edge who'll kind of go, yeah, look at them. This submission is made by Microsoft in response. So this is Xbox's argument. The merger this is to the UK's Competition and Merger Markets Authority. The merger is fundamentally pro-competitive. Well, because Xbox are going to say that, aren't they? Because it increases competition in a market long dominated by Sony. So that's the thing. Sony have dominated the market, the games industry market, especially the console games industry market. And Microsoft's saying, we're just being competitive. It's a bit rich of Sony. Sony literally don't want to give up their crown as the number one, But that's competition. That's fair competition, isn't it? Sony have got deep pockets. Where it's unfair is to anybody else outside of Sony and Xbox. So I don't think Sony can really claim. So yeah, as I lean towards Xbox here. It increases the competition in a market long dominated by Sony. Xbox plans to make the Call of Duty franchise available to more gamers in more ways than would have been in the case in the counterfactual. The merger is in no way about foreclosing any console provider, but will increase competition in the market. So this is really dependent on Xbox sort of guaranteeing that they won't make it Call of Duty, which is the title that's all focused on, exclusive. The suggestion that the incumbent market leader, Sony, with the clear and enduring market power, could be foreclosed by the smallest of the three competitors. Now Xbox is saying, we're the third, behind Sony, Nintendo, and then it's Xbox. Which they have a point. It's a bit rich on Sony's part. Xbox, as a result of losing access to one title, is not credible. Sony's PlayStation has been the largest console platform for over 20 years, with an installed base of consoles and market share more than double the size of Xbox. This is why I think if Sony wants to make an argument, they have to make an argument for other people, not themselves. Sony are the dominant console platform and have been for 20 years. And now what? That is potentially under threat. Well, so be it. That is business. The question is in the dominance that Xbox have, not how it impacts on Sony, but how it impacts on other industry players. How it acts on, cloud and stuff like that. And Games Pass. And, does that force, Games Pass become the dominant subscription service that it forces developers into doing deals with Games Pass to get attention, So it's things like that, which are more at risk from a competition and market sort of potential. I think. Right. So that's Sony playing the victim. But this is having an impact. So this is having an impact on the Activision Blizzard deal. on the Activision Blizzard share price. And this is the fear. This is why it's not clickbait, the title here. There is genuine concern that US antitrust regulators will block the $70 billion deal. Activision Blizzard shares sank further away from Microsoft's proposed takeover price as investors grow concerned that the US antitrust regulators will block the $70 billion deal. The video game maker stock fell 4.1%. Is that a lot? I don't think so. To $73 on Friday, with Microsoft offering $95 a share for the company. Politico reported that the US Federal Trade Commission is likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block the sale. I think they have to. They have to be seen to be doing something. That's not necessary to say that the sale will get blocked. But what they're doing is saying, we'll file an antitrust lawsuit and then, right, Microsoft, you have to defeat that lawsuit and show to us this is not anti-competitive. And then that way, FTC say, well, we try, we asked the question. Yeah, we kicked the tires of this. We didn't just let it go through. We've done our bit. But politically, we know how, that tech getting too big is a bit of a political hot potato at the moment, isn't it? Now, normally we're talking the Googles, the Facebooks and stuff like that. But it also applies, I guess, to, to gaming. There's an appetite to put a forensic lens on big tech, getting too big. So there is a genuine concern in the market that this deal is going to be at least initially blocked. That's not to say it will be blocked forever, but it'll be, initially blocked, and Microsoft will have to jump over a few hurdles. Microsoft probably knew that they'd have to jump some hurdles, yeah? And they'll probably jump them. The deal will probably go through, but not without a lot of hard work and a lot of scrutiny. But I think it will get through. So another perspective on this is that, as I said, in the nature of US law, there are deals to be done. There are deals to be done. And it says here, so if they do go ahead, Microsoft's Activision deal hangs on long shot FTC accord Team Biden hates. So basically, this is Microsoft's best chance to win approval of its $70 billion deal is to persuade the Biden administration to accept a settlement in which Xbox maker pledges it won't withhold its popular title from rivals. So basically, it's to agree with the government. I mean, I'm not sure the government necessarily, should interfere on what titles. Can you imagine the US government saying, yes, but that title, Call of Duty. How big is Call of Duty Warzone? That it requires the US government to go, right, you cannot make that exclusive. You need to promise to make that available on all platforms. That title, that particular title, don't forget the others. That title, you need to promise at a government level in a court that you won't make it exclusive. What does that say about Call of Duty? How fundamental it is in the marketplace? Unbelievable. But it's saying here in Bloomberg that the Biden administration has blocked similar deals over proposed behavioral fixes. So this is, similar deals where, companies that have been scrutinized said, look, we promise we won't do X, and we promise we'll do Y. Will you will you approve this deal if we promise that in a court of law? Also, antitrust officials concerned about the impact on cloud gaming. Well, arguably, as Chariot Man Gaming, said earlier, had an impact on Stadia, this deal. Allegedly. Just the sheer scale of it and what it might mean for Games Pass and therefore xCloud. How can you compete with that? That is a genuine argument, I think, in this anti-competitive arena. It would, if they're going to if cloud gaming is appetizing, I think you offer a subscription service like Games Pass. Who else could compete on that level with a subscription service with so many exclusive titles if this deal goes through in the cloud gaming arena? That, I think, is a reasonable argument to stand upon its feet. Sony being somehow threatened as the number one console platform is not an argument on someone of Sony's scale. But the cloud gaming, arguably, there could be an argument there. But again, in the chat, let me know what you think. So there's genuine concern, but it's not just the US. Again, there's another Sony one here. We've known about a few complaints Sony's been sending to regulators in regard to Microsoft's planned Activision Blizzard deal. The UK's Competition and Mergers Authority moves on towards its phase 2 investigation. That's not going to be sorted until March. Sony's complaint filing has been made public, revealing some interesting things. One of them is that the problem with the Microsoft will be able to increase console and game prices for Xbox users. That is rich. Yeah, as it says here, the problem with this argument is that Sony itself leveraged its market position from the PS4 generation to increase consumer prices for both games and consoles for this generation. Yeah. Pushing games, making games at $70 as the new standard. And increasing the price of the PS5. So again, Sony, that's a bit rich. That's a bit rich. But yeah, so you've got the UK government looking at it. It's going through and asking the industry for input on it. You've got the US antitrust regulators looking into it. You've got the EU looking into it. And we know what the EU are like when it comes to antitrust. They're really hot on it. And not only that, you've got Sweden taking the deal to court. So the EU is asking game companies how important Call of Duty Xbox exclusivity really is. The questionnaire consists of over 100 questions regarding the Activision acquisition, and this was sent out to loads of competitors. In recent weeks, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has seen several developments as the deal continues to be shaped. It's also been met with a bit more scrutiny from rival companies and organisations. Now, the EU is kicking off its investigation. It has reportedly sent out questionnaires to game developers, asking them to weigh in on the effects of this acquisition. As reported by Reuters, EU wants to know if Microsoft will block rivals after Activision deal. EU antitrust regulators are due to make a preliminary decision by November the 8th on whether to clear... Oh, that's preliminary. It's gone to further. We've gone past that date. The EU competition enforcer also asked if Activision's trove of user data, of course they've got all this user data, would give the US software giant a competitive advantage in development, publishing and distribution, computer, console games. So it's coming from all angles. But as I said, it's not just that. in Sweden, Microsoft Activision sued over planned acquisition in Sweden. It's facing a legal challenge in Sweden where a state-run pension fund has sued both companies over the proposed merger. The 205-page complaint argues that Activision CEO Bobby Kotick and the company's board members plan to sell Activision Blizzard to cover their tracks following the embarrassing sexual harassment. So they're suing them. They're suing Microsoft in particular because there was all this bad feeling and bad press around Activision Blizzard. That Activision Blizzard sold it to Microsoft to sort of distract from all the bad stuff that was going on at Activision Blizzard at the time, and that Microsoft knowingly exploited the harassment scandal and its commercial leverage over Activision precisely to offer Kotick a way to save his own skin. It conspired with Kotick and the board to help them evade the personal and professional consequences of the scandal. So, yeah, it's happening everywhere, man. It's happening. Let's go to chat, see what you've been saying. So there is a genuine risk that the deal might not go through. And do, you know, would we be satisfied if it doesn't go through? Would we be satisfied with that? With this, effectively, if it doesn't go through, would we be satisfied with the what's on offer here? Starfield, Redfall, Forza Motorsport, Stalker 2, Atomic Heart, Lies of P, Hollow Knight, Microsoft Legends, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Age of Empires, Persona 3 and 4, Valheim, Hellblade 2, Avowed. Would we be happy with all of that instead? Not instead, but just that, and none of the kind of extra goodies that would come. I mean, Activision, it's not just Call of Duty. Overwatch, you know, what about Overwatch 2? Imagine that was on Games Pass. It's free to play anyway, I suppose. It didn't make a difference. But there's lots of other games that could just suddenly, it would make Games Pass, it's already one of the best deals in gaming, making it a ridiculously good deal. Let's go to chat. Let's close that up and we'll see what you guys have been saying about all this. Hey, Geek the Sneak. Thank you again for your membership. Do we know if it is inbound to xCloud anytime soon? Ubisoft seemed lacking versus the present they hadn't. Yeah, they do. They had a great relationship. There we go. Ubisoft had a great relationship with Stadia. But I guess from Ubisoft's point of view, you can have Ubisoft Plus and then, you know, play that. That's what they need to have, isn't it? Valhalla is due back on Steam on the 2nd. I assume it will be in GeForce Now before xCloud, says ER Gaming. There's some really interesting technical dives into what the team have done with Callisto Protocol. I think with your interest in visual media, cinema production, you'll dig them, man. I'll check them out. I mean, I'm definitely going to be watching some streams. Why is my highlight chat so far over there? There we go. Oh, I know why. Let's just reduce that there. There we go. That's better. I've Need for Speed Unbound pre-ordered on PlayStation 5 edition. Brilliant, Liam. Yeah, it was great on PlayStation 2. It was such a good game. I liked it. I love arcade races. The Crew 2, big amount, we've done that, yeah. Valhalla leaves PlayStation Plus, yeah. Okay. Now you're getting a Series X. Why don't you join Boomerang Game Rentals? Been renting for a long time. Even Rock does the same, £11 a month. Save a lot of money. No time, Pete. Maybe I will, because I don't always like spending. I don't know. I know it's a bit boomer, isn't it? Yeah, discs. Bit 20th century. But then again, I don't like spending 70 quid on a game, so you know, maybe that's the way forward. Maybe I'll look into it. I'll definitely look into it. I'm looking forward to Atomic. I am as well. It looks really cool. from the videos I've seen, Internet of Games. Looks really good. Listening while working, but do you think the regulators will put... Yes, I think the deal will go through, but there will be conditions. And I guess that's what the lawyers are going to have to negotiate. So, yeah, the deal will go through, but there will be conditions. It's just what those conditions are. Starfield, definitely. Redfall, Hellblade 2. I mean, I enjoyed Hellblade. Did I? I don't know. I don't know. I found it a bit disturbing. It's sort of meant to be, but yeah. What games in the pipeline for Blizzard, or are they keeping quiet until the deal goes through? Interesting question, Kirk. I hadn't thought about that. We've so focused on what's in their catalogue. I haven't considered, and maybe they are. I mean, they're probably restricted on what investments they can make. Until the deal goes through, which I guess for them is quite frustrating because it could set back any potential development for a year or so. But from Xbox point of view, they're going to want to make the decisions. Maybe they got things they just can't enact. Maybe they are working on things on the assumption the deal would go through. The company I work through, where we've had to have things approved by the government before we can sort of go ahead with it, and the government's decision... We'll put a line and say, well, okay, we're launching another channel, whatever, on this date, but it's got to go through all the regulation and it's got to get approved. You don't know what's get approved, but we can't wait for the approval and then do all the work. We've kind of got to do all the work beforehand on the assumption that it's kind of going to get approved so that we're up to speed when the thing does get approved and we can hit the launch date that we want to hit. So it's going to be the same. There'll probably be some stuff in development, early development, but they can't announce it. Could Milton Keynes create a Manchester United? Well, could Man City? That's the thing about Manchester City. People say you can't buy heritage. It's slightly different because football, is 120 years old or whatever, and some clubs have, like Liverpool and Man United, and got like incredible history. So you can buy success. Maybe that's enough. You just can't buy heritage. That would be that analogy, I would say, Internet Games. And this is not about heritage. It's about success. Jonathan Riley, do you think Ubisoft and EA plan to market their own streaming services? Well, I strongly believed that I did a whole video on it, actually, Jonathan Rowley. If you check my channel, I did a whole video specifically about I strongly believe Ubisoft would be launching their own cloud gaming platform. They have experience of launching virtually all their titles most of their titles on Stadia. They have a relationship with Stadia. It seemed to make sense. However, we've seen a downturn in the market I think these sort of decisions, if they're going to happen, have been delayed from when I thought they might happen. So I still think it might happen. I just think people are maybe going to wait a bit. Xbox not hitting its subscriber targets, Stadia sort of, closing down because it didn't hit its kind of target market. Luna seemed to be not going anywhere. I think the market is not ready for cloud gaming at the level many of us thought it would be. I'm ready. Most of the people who watch this, we're ready. Come on, we were ready. Stadia proved it works. There's just not enough people like us to embrace it. Or, you could put it on the other side. The industry didn't win the hearts and minds of the majority. It just won the hearts and minds of the minority, and the minority wasn't enough to sustain the business. So is Ubisoft and EA planning? I think they will. Why wouldn't they? But once it's gone a bit more, as it gets the market's potential is greater. In the same way Disney sucked all their titles off, off Netflix once the licenses had run out. Same with my company, we're trying to get as many titles as we can on our streaming service, Gandara says, I think Phil Spencer says he's happy to give Sony a 10-year deal. Yeah, exactly. But they've exactly. It really, because like I said last week, I think it was, why would they want to make it exclusive? It doesn't make commercial sense. There's not enough people. It's not going to generate enough business compared to selling the biggest selling game on PlayStation. So it's absolutely no skin off Phil Spencer's nose to go to Sony. Look, if that's really your argument that somehow we're going to make Call of Duty exclusive, fine. We'll guarantee you can have it for 10 years. Of course Xbox are going to guarantee, because most of the sales are on Sony PlayStation, probably. I've checked that fact, but I'm pretty certain most of the Call of Duty sales are on PlayStation. So it's no skin off their nose, and it does, as you say, pull the carpet from under that argument. But Sony went, no, it's not enough. But I think it may be one of the concessions. But it just seems weird in a massive corporation making concessions to a government, effectively, that an entertainment title. It's not like a service. It's not like an argument like the browser. Like saying to Google, you have to allow other browsers on your platform. That's like, because that's a service, to other people. It's a piece of software for other people to use. Call of Duty is a piece of entertainment. That'd be like saying to Disney, you've got to, the next big Marvel film. You've got to make it available to Netflix and Amazon. Do you know what I mean? Like, why was that never scrutinized at the same level? When Disney bought Lucas, bought Marvel, but like basically hoovered up all the biggest IPs in the world. Fox. Sony studios are freaking amazing. They only let them go to PC to avoid the... Yeah, exactly. And also they make a bit of money on the side. The PC market is not to be, not to be sniffed at. Sony lawyers are the ones being heard most because they're the ones with the deep enough pockets. Yeah, and also, yeah. And it's their biggest competitor. Yeah, you want it, Microsoft. We'll make you prove it and you love it enough to keep it for generation before you see profit. Yeah. Hey, Sean. If this goes through, this will have given Microsoft loads of free publicity on how big the deal is. Exactly. I mean, it's the biggest deal in gaming, no question about it. It's $70 billion. Crazy. I'm a heavy cloud gamer. The question is Odin or Steam Deck? Good question. Now, I'm not... I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of Steam Deck. I'm just it doesn't excite me. Steam Deck or Odin doesn't. I'm not. I like playing on the big screen. I like my games on the big screen. I know it's occasionally when I'm away I'll take my little controller with me for my and maybe dawdle around in a game for a while. But generally, although I'm into cloud gaming, I like cloud gaming on my big PC monitor or via the Xbox streaming on my big LG. But by all accounts, people love the Steam Deck. Love, Colm. Kirk says here, was 2020 a good year in games because there was an Elden Ring just like 2020 dominated by Starfield? Yeah, I mean, there were some big... In fairness, there were some big titles that were due this year that got kicked into 2023. So imagine, if there hadn't been delays, COVID delays, all the delays, whatever, normal development delays. I mean, I think it is accepted that 2022 has been a bit sparse in the big AAA games across all platforms, not just Xbox, because of delays and knock-on effects. So I'm definitely ready for full cloud. I am. You know, just make it more available, you know, make it more available, accessible. Make the smart apps on your TVs, you know, as TVs develop and get to, you know, every TV you buy is on the level of a LG C1 or a new Samsung gaming TV. They're on that level in, you know, 3, 4, 5 years. Get those apps going. As long as Sid has been around, 10 years isn't that much. It's not that much. You know, Grand Theft Auto is celebrating its 25th anniversary. I've seen a few articles from that very first sort of slight top-down 2D game 25 years ago. 25 years? Yeah, 25 years. I was just trying to think, is that right? But yeah, apparently. Cloud is brilliant, but you're going to have an absolute freaking blast when you fire at Series X Cloud. Your retina's going to have an orgasm. I can't wait to, you know, as I said, my son said, you know, what's the point of getting next gen when you haven't got 120 frames per second on your screen and you've only got 4K monitor here? Is it for here, you know, where I sit here? And I went, no, Sonny Jim. LG C1. It's built for gaming. It's built for the Xbox. They use Xbox Series X in its promotion. So yeah. Hey Lo-Fi, how you doing? Good to see you. 100% ready for full cloud. Local gaming hardware would be relevant if we had a first-class streaming service. Exactly. I mean, look, I've said it before in my reviews, and my review of xCloud when it works is great. You know, I have low ping rate wherever I am to the servers here. Don't know why. I don't have an incredible internet, but the ping rate is very good. I have enough. You know, if the kids are full blasting it on broadband, you know, streaming, and my son can game and stuff, and that's fine. I mean, obviously he can't stream, but if somebody downloads something, it all goes Pete Tong. But generally, we know it works. Yeah, and it works really well. And then when you play some, like, you know, GeForce 3080 tier, looks amazing. So we know Stadia look great. We know the technology is there. We know it can work. You've just got to make it. You've just got to lower the access. Yeah, make it easy to access. Apps on smart TVs. And at the moment, you know, with Stadia was trying to be that thing. Look, we're not a supplementary service. This cloud gaming is the service. This is what it is. This is what cloud gaming can be. And that's what got many of us all excited. Yes, I want a virtual cloud console. But with it gone, at the moment, we have effectively a supplementary service that Xbox offers. GeForce Now, you know, and this is from GeForce Now. I talked to GeForce Now, and they specifically said they're about PC gaming. They don't care whether you play via GeForce Now or you, having tasted loads of PC games that are really high fidelity, you go, you know what? I'm going to build my own PC and I'm going to start becoming a PC gamer. GeForce Now are like, fine, great, because we know what graphics cards you're buying. You're buying our graphics card. So in a way, GeForce Now is equally a supplementary service to NVIDIA's bigger picture. Now, they kind of know that that's where the market's going to get going. So xCloud are in there. You know, NVIDIA is in there. But at the moment, they run it as a supplementary service and almost as a proof of concept. And what a proof. You know, the 3080 Ti and GeForce Now, what a proof. It's amazing. Looks brilliant. Front end, not particularly usually friendly for your casual gamer or your console type gamer like me. That's its downside. You know, Stadia, its user experience for me was brilliant. It felt like a console in the cloud. Arguably not enough of the bigger games that we would like to have seen on it. And now it's no more anyway. xCloud has the games to a certain degree. Or, you know, a good choice of games and special AAA games. But maybe the fidelity's not quite there sometimes. So at the moment, we're in a kind of good bits and bad bits of everything. And if you could just get amalgamate all the good bits into one kind of wonderful service, that's what it needs. That's what it needs. Yeah, GFN is a tool to play the games you own. Exactly. And that's the model they've gone for. They did. They thought about a subscription model, I think, in early days when they were experimenting. But then they decided, you know, and you think about it, arguably it's a good way to introduce cloud gaming to PC gamers. Yeah, who are the ones that will already own the games. I, you know, don't own PC. Well, I own a few PC games now, but I previously never owned PC games. So whilst GeForce Now is interesting, the fact that I had a large library was not, you know, or I didn't have a large library, didn't make it quite as appetizing as if I did have a large library of PC games. GFN plus Steam Deck equals complete godsend. Yeah. What's the... presumably the app is especially it's the PC GeForce Now app on the Steam Deck, which is the better app. GM platform or not, it's a service that works very well, in my opinion. Yeah, look, it's getting better. I mean, the service, the fidelity, especially 3080 tier, is awesome, and I'm getting used to it. And I've been playing, again, this will be a conversation on Thursday, but I've been playing Crysis, thanks to the generosity of the chat on the GeForce Now Thursday chat. Every Thursday, 9 p.m. If you're interested, if you haven't seen it, I was able to buy Crysis, and I've been playing that. And it plays, I think when I play it here on my 4K monitor here, it's a great experience. It's not such a good experience for me when I play on the TV. Just the initial getting into it. Once I'm in, it's fine. But there's a slight lag because I'm using a Bluetooth controller with a Bluetooth TV. Just occasionally, just almost imperceptible. When I play here, I'm playing wired on my computer, GeForce Now, and xCloud as well. It's seamless. PlayStation Cloud Streaming is very good. It's last gen, but it's clean and sold last gen. I haven't tried it, if I'm honest. I haven't got Evil West yet. I bought the trilogy, the Crysis trilogy, because it was in the sale. I was just going to buy number one and then... But the trilogy was in the sale, so I got that. And Evil West is next on the list, Christopher. I'm trying not to buy too many games. I've just spent all this money on Xbox Series X. Sean else, the GFN was terrible earlier this year. Hell, even a few months ago, I was in login hell. So much better now. Yeah, they're improving that logging in process. That's what I need as a console player. That's what I need. It's sort of getting seamless. Although, in fairness, it's because you're using, you know, Steam or Origin, and them as services want to protect your security. So every so often, even if initially you don't have to sign in, eventually you'll have to sign in again or give a code or whatever, and that's to protect your, you know, your security. And that's the issue, because all GeForce Now is doing is giving you access to libraries. So eventually, they're going to have the library will want to ask you your security questions again. But as long as, that bit's not there, it's getting so much better. Like I said before, when you play something like Fortnite, you're almost straight into the game. It's pretty impressive. GeForce Now Thursday night, every Thursday here, 10 p.m. UK Sweet. It's 9 p.m. I'm doing it 9 p.m. Internet. Thursday night, 10 p.m. UK. No, 9 p.m. I don't feel controller lag on xCloud until I installed it, and then I noticed the lag on xCloud. Till I play it installed. Ah, right, yeah. Well, you're going to. See, that's the thing. I think it's my cloud gaming experiences. I don't notice it, but then I'm not playing natively. So like immediately afterwards to notice. I was saying, ER says I'm the same as Clive. Jim wasn't appealing along with multiple logins, but this last week I bought 3 games. I know, I can't believe it. I've added to my Steam library. Well, I bought 3. I bought the Crisis trilogy, and I'm on the verge of being Evil West. Although I don't know whether to get Evil West on Xbox. Now I'm getting the Xbox Series X or Steam. Don't know. GFN login is improved for sure. I barely log in. Yeah, no, exactly. And I asked them directly, is that something they're working on? And they said, yes, it was. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. GeForce Now, exactly. If you're interested in all things GeForce Now, then join me live on Thursday, as Internet of Games has put here, GeForce Now Thursday chat. It's the GeForce Now Thursday chat, live, 9 p.m. We'll go through all the GeForce news now. I'm expecting a bit more than we had last week because we're into cyber, we're into Black Friday and stuff like that last week. So hopefully there'll be some more updates and stuff like that. And there's rumors that GeForce Now is expanding to India. So maybe we'll get confirmation of that. I'm not too sure. But anyway, I'd love you to join me if you can. And we'll be talking all things GeForce Now on Thursday. Massive thank you to everyone who joined me tonight. Really, really appreciate it. I know it's not the same, the community that we had, with Stadia and all of that. But I love doing this show. I love doing these shows. I love chatting with you. I love the interaction with the guys that, that come here and partake live. And if you're watching it after the event, that's fine. But I'd love to, if you would comment as well and all of that. I didn't get it to the game. I had to install Vampire Survive to even play. Really? I like that. I like playing that on cloud because you can just pick up and play. I'll be there Thursday. First good show last week. Thank you. We were a bit lacking in news, really. But that's okay. Oh my gosh. Are they all £2 each? $1 each, Sean? That's a lot of games. Thank you. What other cloud show is it? Okay, Colm. I did have a quick look, Colm. I'll have a look. What other cloud shows 10 p.m. on a Thursday? I missed it. I'll have a look. I'd hate to clash. But anyway, thank you for that. Have a wonderful, wonderful gaming week. And I'd love to see you on Thursday. Could be 9 p.m., could be 10 p.m. But I'll let you know. Have a great one. And we'll definitely be doing this at 10 p.m. Same time, same place next week. All right. Okay. Well, I'll double check. Thank you for letting me let us know that. I did have a quick shifty around last week. I wasn't sure, but I didn't see any, but they weren't on my radar, so that would be why. Thank you for pointing that out. I may adjust. All right. Thank you and farewell.